Welcome back to the Help Me Rhonda Show. This week, I have got someone that's going to completely blow you away. In fact, this woman is a thought leader in wealth creation, but she's on a mission to deconstruct financial slavery in women that we are facing today. So it's time to introduce Leah Steele, the wealth witch, to the show. How are you, darling?
Good. So excited to be here.
I'm really glad that you're here. So first off, we have to start. What is this deconstructing financial slavery? Let's start there. What does that even mean?
Yeah, so, today in this stage of that humanity is in, and obviously we're in a time that I believe is really crucial in the development of humanity.
Yeah.
We're facing a lot right now on a collective level that is going to affect how we move forward in the world. And one of the things that I really believe that this time is here to do and show us is how we've been controlled and manipulated by a global financial agenda. So essentially, I believe that each and every person is conditioned and programmed from the time they take their first breath on this planet to be a compliant commodity. And what that means is that we're raised to operate inside a system where our work, sweat, our labor serves an elite group of people that oversee a global financial agenda. And essentially that we're all born into financial slavery.
That's a really powerful statement. I mean, if you think about it, there's going to be a lot of people that might have a lot to say about that, right? I mean, the way that, especially for women, because you're primarily working with women, right?
Yep.
I mean, women notoriously, we have been suppressed, if you will, for centuries. And now you are cracking open the belief system in women. Tell me more about that. Like, what is it that you're doing, and why is this so big for you? And where did this even start?
Yeah, so, I really believe that women are the foundation of the collective, and that we are the most powerful creators in the collective. And so it's really important, I feel like it's time right now for us to step fully into our divine purpose on this planet, which is to create and to change the world. And we don't do that when we're not properly resourced. And so for me, I'm very, very passionate about helping women deconstruct their financial programming and conditioning, and really step into their divine birthright, which I believe is to be wealthy in all areas of their lives.
Yeah, so all right, so you talked about conditioning. So you mean what women have gone through from their families? Is it ancestral? Where do you think that comes from? Because, we were born all the same. Right? So what makes one person go from being completely abundant in everything they do to being insecure or afraid to actually step into their greater self?
Yeah. So, the programming and the conditioning comes from
society,
all facets, right?
Yeah.
We carry it ancestrally in our DNA. It's scientifically proven at this point now. We carry at least 7 generations of ancestral DNA. I believe it to be much, much more.
Yeah.
But we're at least carrying 7 generations of ancestral DNA memory. So the programming and conditioning comes down to us through our ancestors. All of us had great grandparents and grandparents who lived through the Great Depression.
Yeah.
So we're all carrying stuff around money, wealth, abundance, prosperity, and worthiness and deserving too.
So some people probably don't even really realize what's happening for them, because it's really interesting you talk about ancestors. Even recently, my audience knows I've been on this really deep track, because that was brought up to me that in order for me to help my daughter be completely sovereign, I needed to heal those past ancestral traumas that they even had. And that was such a mind blower to me. I'm thinking all the stuff that I've done, let me heal that. Maybe my mom's done, but it tracks back all the way deeply into our ancestral traumas that they've gone through. And you're right, so many, our grandparents, they were in the Great Depression, they were hiding money. So you think that actually flows into then the way and the belief systems that women even have in even talking about wealth.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So how are you cracking that open? Like from, let's say, because I see women that are like so open and like, domineering in what I am and, you know, powerful like you are and talking about money, and then others are so insecure. Are those the women that you're working with, and how do you get them to start talking about debt, about wealth, about opening themselves up?
So, you know, I think that the thing that's interesting to me is that money, I believe, is really just the gateway drug to spiritual development, because everybody has money stuff. Like, it doesn't matter if you were born into a wealthy family or you were born into a poor family. You have programming and conditioning around money. And that programming and conditioning holds you back from your infinite potential. So for me, I work with women that are in a place in their lives where they are tired of feeling controlled by money. They are tired of feeling like money controls them and dictates what they can or can't do in their life. And they want to be free. Like us, they want to live a life where money is a resource and an ally. And so those are the women that come to me, that come to work with me to help them deconstruct that ancestral DNA trauma, to deconstruct the programming and conditioning that they received from their parents, from society, from you know, the collective as a whole. And they're women that are really ready to look at a different way of doing life.
I really love this because this is a big topic. I mean, a lot of, you know, people can be watching and they're thinking, you know what, that's really me. And many are putting up that facade that's like, I'm hustling because we have lived in this pressure cooker. And really it's been a very masculine energy that we've been living in, right? So you and I both, I mean, I was in corporate and I was in a man's world. And I was taught to fight and taught to be that, you know, in order to be successful, you have to be that bitch, that one in the corner that's like, you know, just the bulldog. But that doesn't have to happen anymore. I think there's a big shift that's happening in women because we're starting to really see that our nurturing self is actually what creates flow. And you know, like I look at money as currency, right? It's just energy flow. And so are you saying that now the age that we're moving into is creating more of a space for women to flourish and to actually create? You know, like what do you think is actually happening energetically?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously we've moved out of the Piscean age. We've moved into the age of Aquarius. This is a very feminine energy. And this energy and this age is all about spirituality and technology and knowledge and wisdom. And it's not about the individual. It's not about you know, the last 240-year cycle in particular has been all about mastery of the material plane and the individual. And so we're moving more into an age now that's about the collective, and women are about the collective. And so for us, we desire to see the collective rise. We desire to see our children rise. We desire to see our communities rise. And I really truly believe that this energy that we have right now on this planet is really, really supportive of women stepping out of that, you know, I guess what is perceived in most cases to be very masculine way of doing business, action-oriented, risk-taking, forward momentum, you know, drive, power, like sustainability in that way, and into more of a place where we're able to create from an authentic, more holistic viewpoint.
Yeah, you know, I was just reading a study that was done, and they talked about, like, by the age or the year 2025, that women will add $1.5 trillion to the GDP, and that in developed countries, when a woman's given $1, they turn it into 12. However, when a man takes $1, it actually goes and turns into a -2 to 3. Like, why do you think that is? Like, where is that derived? Is it from this consciousness that women have for giving back? And it's not that hold frequency?
Well, we give life, we create, right? And so our nature is to reproduce. Our nature is to create. Like, that is, it's a very innate part of who we are and what we're on this planet to do. And I think that, you know, when we're actually able to step into our authentic energy, we're not focused on ourselves. We're not focused on the individual. We are very much tribal collective beings that want to see the collective rise. We're not...
So much more collaboration in that space,
we're not,
right?
you know, by nature, we want to collaborate with each other. We want to rise together. We have been programmed and conditioned to not trust each other, to be separate, to have issues with other women, because that actually is what keeps us disempowered.
That's what keeps us from, like staying in that box, right? And this is where this deconstructing of financial slavery is coming from, I can hear from you. Yeah. So let me ask you, was this always, like, where did this come from for you? Like, were you always in this mindset? Was there an aha moment that broke for you at a certain age? Like, was your family wealthy? Like, because everyone's going to wonder, like, how do I get to that point? I'm not like you, my family wasn't wealthy.
Yeah. So no, I was raised by a single mother who was the daughter of school teachers from rural Idaho. And I was raised in a single parent household. My mom worked multiple jobs to put food on the table. I was a latchkey kid. By second grade, I was walking home from school by myself and spending evenings alone. And I just was a real avid learner. I loved education, and I was obsessed with money from a very early age. Like, I wanted to be able to earn my own money. My mother raised me to be independent, to not depend on a man, that I could do it all my own. And she was proof of that, right? Like, she was doing that. But for me, I didn't like the struggle part of it. I didn't like the paycheck to paycheck part of it. And I felt like there had to be a better way. But from the time that I could work, I think I got my first retail job at 13. And from that point forward, I never worked less than 1 or 2 jobs. You know what I mean? Like, I just was always working. I left high school early because I saw an opportunity to go to college so I could work more, so I could make more money. And I've always been interested in money and currency and wealth. And so when I had my spiritual reawakening, I became an emotional clearing practitioner. And through that process, sort of became a little bit obsessed with deconstructing my own limiting beliefs around money and wealth and my own worthiness and my own deserving. And as I started doing that work, I was a coach at the time, but I was working with people, helping guide them into their purpose, and doing their purpose work in the world. But as I started doing that work for myself, my clients started making more money. And everyone that would come into my field started making more money. And so my clients dubbed me the Wealth Witch. And at first I was like, I rejected it. I was like, I don't want to be the Wealth Witch. Like, I'm not the Wealth Witch, but it stuck because so many people were calling me that. And eventually I started doing the same for other people, helping them deconstruct their limiting beliefs and their programming and their conditioning.
Wow. All right. So I love this. So this wealth witch, it can have some negative connotations, right? People are like, whoa, wait a minute. This woman is bringing spirituality into wealth creation, right? And now you're a witch at it, right? Because that's got such a negative connotation to that. How do you explain that when someone asks, what is the wealth witch? Like, how would you even express what that is? Yeah, so
I think really what I do is that I'm a wealth creation strategist, but I do it through a means of empowering women to step into their divine gifts and their purpose. And then obviously helping them repattern their wealth stories and their wealth beliefs, and deconstruct that programming and conditioning that they came to this earth with and that has been put upon them since they arrived here. But for me, I'm a highly intuitive person, and how important that is in business. And so that is the thing that I really truly desire to activate in women, is that their inner innate knowing that they are here to be creators, that they're here to be healers, that they're here to actually heal this planet. And that to me is what the word witch was.
Yeah.
When the Inquisition happened.
But that's why they burned us at the stake, right? They were afraid of our power.
Yep. Yeah. So there's a beautiful thing in reclaiming that, especially as we're helping women step into financial sovereignty, because we have to take back our power. And, when we talk about that thing of women being separated and having to be in competition with each other, that was by design. And the Inquisition did that really beautifully, because you were called a witch. And then if you turned in 5 of your friends, then you were going to be set free. But ultimately you weren't. You were burned anyway. Yeah. But women turned on women. And so now we have this real deep-rooted distrust between each other, which prevents us from collaborating, which prevents us from rising, and it all serves, again, this agenda.
Yeah. Yeah, so how do you see then where things are going? Do you you see that there's a shift in what's happening and that women are becoming more awakened to the fact that this has been a trick, pretty much, that they've been, walked down the path of despair, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, I think the sad thing to me is I feel like there are so many women that are still so caught up in this game and in this rat race.
Yeah.
But I do see women waking up and I think the more of us that step into powerful collaborations and show other women that we can be friends, we can be business partners, we can have very financially and spiritually abundant relationships, that more women will wake up to it. I think that people on the planet are waking up en masse right now, but that global financial agenda is not going to let go easily. And so what we're seeing now is the power play, right? We're trying to control people more. We're trying to manipulate people more.
Yeah.
And so, there's a lot of the world that's
fear behind it.
Yeah, there's a lot of the world that's buying into that. And then, we're very lucky that there's a lot of women, are very powerful women around us that are stepping into positions of leadership and showing other women what can be done.
Yeah, absolutely. Many might look at you from the outside and be like, wow, she's like so powerful, and almost like you're, a bit unapproachable, right? Those that are from the outside. I know that's happened to me in the past. How is that, how is this affecting, or how does it weave into your relationships with your husband, right? Because that's always a factor, right? How do we as powerful women now have powerful relationships, right? Because that's always something that comes up. Like, how do you see now that shift taking place where a woman can actually be powerful and also have an amazing relationship with their husband and their children?
Yeah, well, I think that it's very important that we keep a very open mind when it comes to gender roles and relations right now, because we've gone through a period of time where the feminist movement has encouraged women to step into their power and to be independent and to not need men. And at the same time, we've told men, you need to be more sensitive. And at some level, we've really emasculated them if they don't step into that very sensitive role in nature. But then we still have these very outdated beliefs around, okay, men, you need to be sensitive, but you also need to be a provider. And if you can't do both of those things, then something's wrong with you.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah.
And likewise for women, it's like, you need to stay in your feminine, but you need to be independent and masculine. And so at some level, I feel like we're caught in this sort of internal war, and that makes it difficult in relationship. And so, for me, at least in my relationship, I know it's just always an ongoing open dialogue about where we are and what our individual goals and dreams are, and what the goals of the unit that is the marriage, that is the relationship are. And it's not always easy. I mean, it's definitely hard. It's hard in today's society. It's hard in today's age to, follow your dream and follow your bliss. And I think the best that we can hope is to get a partner who's really supportive of helping us follow our dream. And I know that both of us are very lucky in that way.
Yeah, I love that. I always, I read this book. I forget what the heck the name of the book was. You might know it. And it was about how we as women, like when we are supported by the masculine, not like supported where everything's done for us, but supported, it allows us to create, right? Because we know that, like, it's almost like we've got our guards and our warriors around us so that we can create, and that's really where the witchiness comes from, right? Yeah. Because we're such creators, and I love that. And it's, it's been a struggle, even with, my husband. We've been together for 23 years. I think you and Sean been together over 10, 11 years.
Yeah, we've been together off and on for 25 years and married for 10, Yeah,
so like you see this, and you see this wave happening, and that always comes up like, all these powerful women, they'll never keep a man. It's like, actually no, because when you actually start to learn how to balance that masculine and feminine and trust in each other, that's when that perfection starts to work and allows women to create. And I think it's where we're shifting now, and more women need to hear this message, right? Like they need to hear it, embody it, and know that they're not alone. And that their men can shift and understand. Like my husband has taken he was born in like a town in the Midwest, 2,000 people. His dad was gay. And so he grew up, and he died when he was 16 years old of AIDS. So he grew up just trying to be like super masculine guy because that's all he thought he needed to be. Yeah. And then he meets me and he's got this powerhouse woman and he starts realizing like, I don't have to fight you. I don't have to show up. I just have to be and support you. And I think that's a big message for today, especially in our youth that's growing up. I want to shift gears a bit because this message is so strong, but you have such a powerful way that you deliver this message, which is in your podcast, The Wealth Witch, right? Where you're giving women these type of tips. If you were to say, like maybe the top 3 things that you would share with women, what they can do, how to open up their mindset to really start understanding and cracking this and deconstructing this, this financial slavery, what are some things that you can say they should do?
So the most powerful thing I think that we can do is to begin to question everything. And it sounds so simple, but literally, if we just stopped believing everything that we believed was true because we've just been told our whole lives it was true, the world would change radically.
Yeah.
So to me, it is question everything, especially the things that are your beliefs that when challenged, you want to dig your heels in and defend.
Yeah,
those are the things you need.
Moments,
yeah, you need to question those things the most. But the thing I tell my clients is question everything. And especially the things that you go, well, this is just true. Because I've always been told it was true. Because my mom told me it was true, and my grandma told me it was true, and my great-grandmother told me it was true.
Yeah.
And ask yourself, well, if that wasn't true, if that was actually a lie, who would benefit from you being told that lie?
Wow.
And if that comes back to a government institution or a financial institution would benefit from you believing that lie, that's where you go to start deconstructing this financial slavery consciousness.
Wow, that's big, right? I mean, that's such a big piece of advice because we are, even many might say, oh, I'm confident, I'm independent. But if you're still believing in those old lies and those old patterns and following those old patterns, then you're gonna still stay stuck, right? And so start questioning it, that's really big. What are some other ways that you are now helping? So you've got the Wealth Witch podcast. I think you've got a few books coming up.
Yep.
Like what are some of the books that are launching this year for you?
Yeah, so the first book that's coming out is The Wealth Wisdom Oracle, and I'm a big fan of the power of repetition and taking little snippets of ideas or information and putting those into your energetic field on repeat, because I think that's how we shift and change. And so this book is, it's an oracle of sorts. So literally you can open the book to a page and then there's going to be a little snippet of content from me and a journaling exercise or prompt on how to deconstruct financial slavery consciousness and really up-level your ideas and beliefs around what wealth, money, and currency really are.
Wow, and when is that coming out?
So that should be out in April, I think, March or April. And then I have my sort of big book, which has been a year-long project in the making called Wealth Alchemy. And it is actually all about this, how we got here into this financial slavery consciousness, how we deconstruct it. It really is my signature program, Ouroboros. It's that program in book form for people all over the world to be able to read.
So wait, you have a program as well. You're helping women physically now in a coaching program.
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
Yeah. So it's I call it a wealth repatterning program because that's really what it does.
Okay.
And it's a 4-month-long program. I run it a couple of times a year, and it's deep emotional clearing work and repatterning around money, wealth, abundance, but ultimately gets down to those layers that are: am I worthy and am I deserving of living the life that I deeply desire?
All right, that's a big one. And I know that my audience for sure is going to want to know how to find you.
Yep.
So if they were looking for these, not only the book, The Wealth Witch, I'm sure you're on iTunes then with The Wealth Witch.
I'm everywhere that podcasts are streamed with The Wealth Witch, which is great. And then my website is just theleahsteele.com.
All right, I love that. Is there anything that you would say that you want to leave with our audience that they really need to start looking at right now? Because we're looking at trends. I mean, there is a shift and there's a consciousness that's happening right now. And, for women right now that are going, what do I do next? Like, where am I? Like, they're in this duality still, right? And they're trying to step forward. What would you give them as a big piece of advice?
I think that the most important thing that we can do right now is to start looking at multiple streams of revenue, especially as women, because what we've seen in the last 12, 18 months is that what we believe to be safe, stable, and secure is no longer safe, stable, and secure.
Right.
And so we can no longer depend on our 9-to-5 job or our big corporation to provide us a paycheck and a 401k and a retirement program or a pension. Like it's not really our reality anymore.
Yeah.
And so my suggestion to women especially is, and I want them to know that like they have the ability to build generational wealth. They are so powerful. And so it's look at how to begin turning on multiple streams of revenue. Diversify their assets. Look at investing in things like cryptocurrency. Look at making property investments. And also that if you're just getting started, it's the little steps, because that law of compounding is so real. So, buying a little bit of silver and then buying a little bit more of silver before long, you got a kilo of silver, you know what I mean? So it's about diversifying and turning on multiple streams of revenue. I guess really embracing fluidity, because we don't really know what the next 2 to 5 years have in store for us.
Yeah.
So if we can embrace fluidity and know that we are powerful, we can make it through this.
Yeah, I love this advice. And I'm thinking about like that woman right now that's sitting and it's been a year, right, that they haven't maybe worked, or they're literally trying to find a way to get and emerge. Is there something that they can do that's like, they're saying, I don't have any money to buy silver. I'm trying to still put money on my, or put food on my kids' plates. Yeah. Are there some small strategies that even someone at the basic level can start shifting their money mindset?
Yeah. So, definitely come listen to the Wealth Witch podcast, because every week I'm giving lots and lots of free tips and tools of things that you can do. I really do believe that this thing we talked about earlier, though, around questioning everything, what it does is it actually repatterns these neurotransmitters so that we are able to open up to see things that we weren't able to see before, that we're able to see ways of making money in different ways. We're able to see the opportunities that we have to pull in different income streams. And so that to me is really, it's like start doing the work. Start cultivating a deep connection to your higher self and be disciplined.
Are there any, because that's a big one right there. I think even that alone, are there any rituals that you do or that someone could actually do to start just dropping in?
Yeah. So I'm a huge fan of journaling. It is a non-negotiable for me. Because it is that way for me to explore those things that I'm curious about, explore those things that I'm questioning. But my most simple thing is every morning I start my day asking, how would you have me serve? How would you have me serve? What is in the collective and my community and my family's highest and best interest for me to do today?
Yeah.
And then I do that thing. And every night when I go to bed, I check in and I ask myself where I fell out of alignment with that thing and where I could have done better. And it's not about a judgment, but it's about, okay, we're all human, we make mistakes. It's like, okay, I fell out of alignment here, I didn't do the thing I was directed to do here, and I make a commitment to do better the next day. And that has changed my life.
Wow. I absolutely love it, Leah. Thank you so much for being here. I want to make sure that our audience follows you and goes to the Wealth Witch, because what you talk about, I know there's so many more layers, and I know your book is going to outlay that, and the education that you're giving in the Wealth Witch podcast is going to be something that everyone deserves to hear. Thank you so much for being here. Can you imagine asking yourself, how am I here to serve? And you start questioning all those things that have been programmed to you, that your mother told you, your grandmother told you, that you thought were real. Your belief system around wealth, that I can actually create generational wealth, that I'm being closed in, and that I need to deconstruct my thought patterns around wealth, and that I'm being a slave. Like, really, I want you to think about that stuff. That's been the topic of today, and I want all of you to leave right now to go to the Wealth Witch podcast. Make sure that you're highlighting that, getting notifications when she drops a new podcast every week, because you're going to want to be part of this conversation, because we as women deserve to be sovereign. We are here, we've got children, we are here to lead the charge and to create a new earth. All right, everyone, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to leave you with this. If you're going to create a brand, create a sexy brand. And if you're going to be anything, be unstoppable. We'll see you on the next show.